let's look at 6-2 properties of parallelograms. Before we get into parallelograms, look, there's a little sentence up here describing consecutive angles. Consecutive angles of a polygon are next to each other or adjacent. Next to each other. Sometimes they'll use the word adjacent. But essentially, you might see the word consecutive angles or opposite angles. Opposite angles are totally different than consecutive angles. Here we go. There are 4 bullet points here with parallelograms. Well, there's actually 3, but I'm going to add one more. Parallelograms. First of all, what is a parallelogram? It's a 4-sided figure where the opposite sides are parallel. Okay, but there's going to be much more properties than just opposite sides being parallel. Opposite sides of a parallelogram are congruent. So that's kind of new. So basically, if the top is 7 inches, so is the bottom. Those are opposite sides. If the left is 5 inches, then the right is 5 inches. Opposite sides are congruent. In a parallelogram, opposite angles are congruent. Again, in this picture here, we've got maybe angle A, and then all the way across angle C. That's opposite. Angle D, if this is 100 degrees, then angle B and D would be 100 degrees, the same. Here is another bullet point about parallelograms. The diagonals, when you go corner to corner, there's 2 diagonals. Well, the diagonals bisect each other. Basically, they cut each other in half. So if this was 8 inches, now it's 4 and 4. If this was 10, now it's 5 and 5. So they literally crisscross, and you can kind of tell that they are cut each other in half. So the diagonals will bisect each other. And I'm going to add one more bullet point here. Consecutive angles of a parallelogram, and I'm going to draw this little box here, and this will be the symbol for a parallelogram, are supplementary, which of course means add up to 180 degrees. Now, what are consecutive angles? Well, first of all, opposite angles are the ones like A and C, crisscross, B and D. Those are equal to each other. Consecutive angles are like A and B, or B and C, ones that are just next to each other. So, A and B add up to 180. This acute and this obtuse. B and C would add up to 180. This obtuse and this acute. C and D. There's always going to be one obtuse and one acute angle there, but they would be supplementary. Okay. Theorem 6-4, I don't even know if we'll see any problems with this, but this type of stuff. But if you have 3 parallel lines and they are cut into congruent segments, then any other transversal will cut it into congruent segments as well. So what they're saying here is they start you off with, here's this one transversal. If this happens to be equal to this, so maybe it's 3 inches here, 3 inches here, well then any other transversal line that cuts through these 3 parallel lines would be congruent. So this BD would be the same as DF. DF. Okay, we're not saying that A to C is the same as B to D. I mean, this line could come at a steeper slope, but we are saying BD is equal to DF. Okay, let's take a look at some of the problems here. Find the value of y. Here is the symbol. It looks like just some 4-sided figure, but this is meant to be a parallelogram. Find the value of y in parallelogram EFGH. Find angle EFG and H. So obviously find all 4. Well, first of all, we got to figure out what y is. We got this angle E, 6y plus 4. We got this angle G, 3y plus 37. Opposite angles are congruent. So angle E is equal to angle G, and that's the way we're going to set this up. We're going to say 6y plus 4 is flat out equal to 3y plus 37. And then we will quickly solve for y. Looks like y is 11. Now once y is 11, then you just plug it into this formula here. 6 times 11 plus 4. Oops, I screwed that up. Plus 4, 70 degrees. So this is 70 degrees. 3 times 11 plus 37, this will also be 70 degrees. So angle E is 70 degrees. Angle G is 70 degrees because they're opposite angles. Now if you look at angle F and H, there's no information here, but we should be able to figure out what they are. They're not going to be 70 degrees, but since here in this writing, consecutive angles are supplementary. If this is 70 and this F and E are supplementary, or F and G are supplementary because they're consecutive, then this would be 110. And this would be 110 degrees because 110 plus 70 is 180. And if I add up all 4 angles, it would add up to 360. Okay, opposite angles are equal. Consecutive angles add up to 180 in a parallelogram. Okay, let's go to part 2 here. It says solve for A and B. Well, these are diagonals, and there's a new formula here. Diagonals of a parallelogram bisect each other. So like tick, tick, double tick, double tick. They cut each other's in halves. So this A is equal to B plus 2. We'll just write that down. A is equal to B plus 2. That one diagonal. Again, diagonal goes from corner to corner. It's cut in half. This diagonal is cut in half in a parallelogram. So I'm going to say B plus 10 is equal to 2A minus 8. Now what we have here are systems of equations. 2 equations, 2 variables. Oh God. 2 diagonals that split in half. So to solve this, I will just say I know A is equal to B plus 2, so I'm going to plug that in right there. And then just hopefully you don't make any dumb mistakes here. So this is 2 times B plus 2 minus 8. Just do the distributive property here. This is 2B plus 4 minus 8. Let's solve this guy here. This is B. I'll minus 4. I'll add. So that's 6, 14. B is 14. Once you know what B is, then you can easily solve for A. Just take this original equation here and put in 14 right there. And it looks like A is going to be 14 plus 2, which is 16. Okay, and hopefully those will work. I'm double checking in my head here. 32, 32. Yeah, I think that works. Okay, and finally, number 3 here. You've got parallel lines, parallel, 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 parallel. You'll notice 2 inches, 2 inches, 2 inches, and then they're going to say, well, how long is EH? How long is it from E to H? Well, it's not 2 plus 2 plus 2. That's if the transversal goes straight up. This is 2.5, so this is also 2.5, and this is also 2.5. So each one of these parts in yellow is 2.5. So E to H in its entirety is 2.5 plus 2.5 plus 2.5, which is 7.5. All right, that is that.